Hey, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to be showing you the most common basic checkmating patterns that you absolutely need to know. If you don't know them, after this video you will know them, you'll be familiar with them, so then you can use them in your games and you can defend against them. So the first one, this is called a battery. The queen is supported by the bishop here, and the bishop supports the queen so that the king will not be able to take the queen, and the queen moves right here and checkmates. So this next game is specifically for blitz players in particular. It's really useful when you're on low time pressure if you can remember this pattern. So to checkmate the black king when you're low time pressure, you can first just move your pieces to the edge of the board. You can pre-move everything, that's why it's super useful in blitz. And then as long as your queen is behind your rook, then your rook will always be protected by your queen. So then you can just start moving towards a checkmate. And then even though the king's here, even though the black king's here, he can never take this rook because it will always be right beside the queen, who will always be supporting the rook and protecting it from being captured. So you can just pre-move everything, and then you don't have to worry about drawing the game on time. So now we get to a slightly more difficult checkmate where we only have the queen and no rook to support us in the checkmate of the opponent's king. So there's a neat trick to doing these types of checkmates, and I will show you that. So first, it's white's move here. Basically, the goal in this situation is to move the opponent's king anywhere along the edge of the board or near the edge of the board. So we're going to funnel him towards the edge of the board. He's already closest to this corner, so we're gonna just try to push him into this corner, basically. So we begin the process. And yeah. So one useful tip for doing this is that when your queen is one knight step away, so by knight step I mean like the piece, the knight. So when you're 2 squares down or 1 square to the other direction, or 2 squares up and 1 square left, you know, the L, you're that knight's L movement shape away from the other king. That's when you cover the most squares that he can move. So see, in this situation he can only move here, here, and here. So when you know this pattern, it becomes easier to funnel the king to a corner. So now say he moves here, then I do the same thing. I move here, and the reason I move here is because I know that it's 1 knight step away. So it takes away his options for his moves. Now you can either move here or here. So same thing. And now we got him to the edge of the board. So what do we do once we get him to the edge of the board? You cut off this rank. So I move my queen here, and now he's only got 1 possible move. And then he's stuck moving back and forth between these 2 squares infinitely until you checkmate him. So what do? You can't checkmate with just a queen alone, because if I move my queen here, he has no choice but to take it. That would be a forced draw. You would force him to draw the game. So the only other alternative is to somehow use your king to assist to checkmate the other opponent. So what you have to do is you have to move the king to a square where the king can assist and protect the queen from being captured by the black king. So in this situation, if once I move the white king to either of these 3 squares, then he will be able to support the queen either on this square or on this square. For a checkmate, the queen will move on to one of those two squares to checkmate the black king. So now the king is close enough, the king is supporting this square, and you just move the queen there, and voila, it's checkmate. And I'll do this from another variation where the white king is starting from farther away, because oftentimes your king's going to be far away from the action when you need to initially funnel the other king into the corner, so it can be a little bit challenging for beginners. And as you can tell by the title, this video is made for beginners. So let's do the same thing as before. We're going to try to funnel the king over to one of the corners, preferably this one. So I move here, he's got to go here. So now he's closer to this one, so I might as well switch to this corner. So he goes here. I'm already one knight step away from him, so I'm just going to move my king a little bit closer. He goes here. I'll move one knight step away, and now I take away this rank. He's got to... These are the squares this queen controls close to the black king, and he's got to move either here or here. Let's say he moves here. Then we can do the same thing again. Start moving the king closer. Oh, he just moved closer to the edge of the board. We can cut that off again. So now he's at the edge of the board. I didn't even notice. Sometimes I don't even notice when he's already at the edge of the board. Then you can do the same things before. You just move the queen to the second last rank, and then you move your king closer, and no matter where he moves now, next turn he's getting checkmated because the king can support the queen, and voila, checkmate. So that's another checkmating pattern that you absolutely need to know. And to reiterate once again, basic idea is to just funnel the other king into the corner. Just like this. Or anywhere along the wall. The next checkmate pattern that we're going to go over is the two rooks move. Two rooks mate. So unfortunately for black, it's actually white's turn, and white will move the rook to safety. In the next checkmating pattern, I'll show you how to checkmate with just one rook, but we're not going to do that yet. So when you have two rooks, then it's very similar to the knight, it's very similar to the queen and rook checkmate. You do the same thing as before in terms of you use your rooks to cut off all of the ranks or all of the files one by one until you force the opponent into a checkmate. So the one thing to be careful for is if I move my rook here, for example, he could capture it. So don't do that. And the other thing to be careful for is if you're careless, then you'll accidentally end up hanging your piece and he'll just capture it. So as long as you don't do those two things, it's very easy to get this checkmate. And even when you're low in time and blitz, it's very easy. And I'll show you why it's so easy. Because even if he starts getting close to your pieces, you can just move them to the other side of the board. And then he can't do anything. Now he's too far away to target any of your pieces before he gets checkmated. He's done for. So, nice and easy, guys. This is easy checkmate. As promised, here is the sole rook checkmate. So, with this one, it's similar to the queen's checkmate in terms of the fact that you want to get the opposing king onto the edge of the board. So how do we do that? We do that with something called opposition, which is basically when you stand in front of the other king, then the other king can't move to these 3 squares, so he's forced to either go sideways or away from you, and then you move the rook when it's safe to do so onto this rank or onto a rank to take away a rank from the other king and force him towards the edge of the board systematically. So let's see it in action. The other thing you can do is you can use your king to support your rook. So then you can just easily cut off, I already cut off more than half the board. All of these squares are already cut off from the other king. So he's only got 8, 16, 24 squares to move on. So just move the rook away from the action so it doesn't get taken. And then as the other king moves, you move with him, you follow him until he either, now that he's at the wall, he either has to go back here or he has to move closer to the edge of the board. So either way, your objective is one step closer to being accomplished. So let's say he moves here. Now your king is blocking all of these squares. So when you move your rook, exactly what I was mentioning before occurs. Your king is covering these 3 squares. The rook is covering all of these squares. So the king is forced onto one of these squares. Ergo, the king is the king is forced closer to the edge of the board. So let's see that one more time. He's close to the rook, so now you move the rook away if you don't want it to get captured, which you do not. Then now he's at the edge of the board, you do the same thing. He's either forced to move all the way to the edge of the board or move here. If he moves here, move the rook. See, his only available options now are over here because you've taken the rest of his options away from him. So moves there, and alternatively, if he just moves to the edge, then you just cut it off right away. So now that he's at the edge of the board, you once again try to get opposition. You want to take these 3 squares away from him wherever he is at the edge of the board. So he's trying to run. In this situation where he's trying to go back and forth and force a draw, he's just trying to bait you. In this case, just waste a move with your rook. And now if he moves back here, then you get the checkmate by moving the rook here, because then your rook covers all of these squares and your king covers these squares. So the opposite king would have no squares to move and it's a checkmate. So he has to run away. Then that's when you can follow him, because if he moves back, same thing as before, you move your rook here, all of these squares will be covered, checkmate. So he's out of his 2 options. This one is not an option, he'll be checkmate right away. So he's forced to move here. And now you move here. Now you're still covering these 3 squares. So next turn you move it here. All these squares are covered. So it's an inevitable checkmate. So he makes his move. Boom. Checkmate. You win. Now guys, I could go on forever and I could show you a bunch of more checkmating patterns. But when you have more pieces available, for example, when you have a queen and a bishop available, versus just the lonely opponent king in an endgame, it's only going to be easier compared to when you just had the queen. See, in this video, I already taught you how you can checkmate with just the queen or even just one rook. So if you have more pieces on top of just those pieces, then it's just going to be easier. Like, you can follow the exact steps outlined in this video, or you can have a more creative approach as to how you checkmate the opponent. It's up to you. It's like I said, it's only going to be easier. So I feel like there's no point in me including more checkmates like that and just wasting your time in this video. I showed you the essentials, and with these you'll be able to reach a good level in chess. You'll be able to improve your rating if you didn't know these checkmating patterns. And with these checkmating patterns, these are the basic ones that you have to know, and you'll learn the more complex ones along the way through experience, because they don't happen nearly as often as these ones that you've seen in this game. These ones are the main checkmating patterns. So with that said, guys, if you liked the video, leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, and have a great day.